What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another epicseven video. I know it's been a weekend off for Fort Misery Gaming for some videos for you guys, outside of some summonings on some Mystic Tilt, but I just had a crazy slam-packed weekend with work and WrestleMania and all that good stuff. But I did finally want to get this video out, which is who I think is the most underrated replacement for Falcon or Kluri if you guys have chosen to recall her and not use her with the nerfs. I've stated multiple times about Falcon or Kluri that she's still a very, very good and viable unit, potentially even for PvP depending on your gears, and also very, very viable for PvE, so it is not a must to recall her, but I personally did want to because I wanted to build some other characters that could provide a similar role and do a little bit different things as well for certain contents of the game that I'm doing. So anyway, first of all, we're going to compare Falcon or Kluri's awakening stats now. To note, she will get a 3% more defense here. So actually, let me pull out my calculator and let me see what her defense off of 596 would actually be at 3%. I believe that's what it was in the skill tree, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be an additional around, we'll round it up and say she gets 20 more defense. So she's looking right about 620 defense. We'll go ahead and push it to that round up for her. So she's looking at 620 defense. She's looking at 105 speed, which she will get 9 more speed in her skill tree. So innately, she will have 105. If you go, I believe, up to her 5-star awaken, because I believe her 6-star awaken gives her effectiveness, which is the same as the unit we're going to go over today, oddly enough. And then her speed will go up by 9, which is going to bring her to 114 speed, which is pretty high, especially for a 3-star character, obviously. And then she's going to have around 6,000 health, 700 attack, and then the normal stuff for dual attack and credit damage. And so you see she has 18% effectiveness as far as for where she goes in her awakening tree. So that is Falcon or Kluri's base stats. So the unit we are going to talk about today, and who I feel is the most underrated unit to use as a replacement for Falcon or Kluri, is the boy Tywin. So let's go into his stats first, and then we'll go to his skills and how I feel his applications are going to be very, very useful if you guys do have him. Granted, he is a 5-star character, so not everyone is going to have them on their account, where everyone pretty much has Kluri. So this is, obviously my method of where I'm going to be going for Kluri's role is not going to be, applied to everyone's account. But if you guys do have a unit like Tywin, or you have Tywin, I highly recommend raising him and seeing if it fits your playstyle. So let's look at his awakenings. He gets 3% health. He gets 6% effectiveness. There's his upgrade for his skill like normal. He gets 4 speed, so a knight with speed still. So he does get speed just like Kluri does in the awakening system. Effectiveness at his 6th awakening of 12%. So he gets 2 effectiveness awakenings, which I believe is the same effectiveness for Tywin and Kluri. They should both have 18% extra. And then he gets 2 health, additional health. So let's go into his stats and let's see where they rank up awakening-wise. So awakening-wise, after everything's done, when you include Kluri's skill tree, Tywin is going to beat her on defense by almost 30 more around. They're going to have the same amount of effectiveness in their awakening system. They're going to have the same dual attack chance, credit damage. Attack, Tywin is going to have more as well. I believe, wasn't that around like isn't that almost 200 more, something like that? Health-wise, 6751. Speed 4 less. Defense is going to be about 30 more. Let's go back to Kluri real fast. So Tywin real fast. Sorry, I should have remembered that. So he had 821 attack and 6751 health. So let's go back to Kluri real fast just to refresh ourselves of what her final stats were. Okay, so yeah, so he has, what was it, 67? So almost 800, I would say 800 more health. And then attack-wise, I believe he had about 150, 175 more attack. So stat-wise, obviously he's just better than Kluri. He only loses out on 4 speed in difference to Falcon or Kluri. So the fact that Tywin, as a knight, has 110 speed is actually very, very good. So that's one great thing about him. So let's go back to Tywin and let's go over his skills. So you guys can kind of see stat-wise, I would say Tywin is pretty much a clear-cut winner. Granted, Kluri is going to have some more effectiveness and effect chance in her skill tree for a certain amount of her skills on her S3. So let's talk about first how Kluri's S3 and Tywin's S1 are very, very similar. Obviously, Kluri's S3 is still going to be better as far as where it comes to stripping down debuffs. Tywin, if you have these skill ups for him, he is going to allow you to strip one debuff on his S1 against one enemy. Now, granted, you can trigger this off dual attacks. You can trigger this off units like Tamarine. So, you know, you are going to use this more often than Kluri's S3, especially now. But the fact is, Kluri does completely strip all buffs of an enemy, which we can't ignore that. That is insanely powerful. So, granted, his is a S1, so we're not expected to have that much, but he is going to hit harder than Kluri. So that's kind of the trade-off. You know, it's an S1, so he can do it more often. It's going to hit harder, especially since if you want that full effect chance, you have to do a lot of skill investment in this guy. I think it's something like 14 or 15 Mologoras total you're going to need for this, because you're going to need, if it'll let me... It won't, okay, so it won't let me click off, it doesn't seem, yeah, okay. But anyway, you have to bring this all the way to +5 if you want to get that 75% effect chance. So you basically have a 75% chance to dispel one buff. Now, I would highly recommend, if you are going to go into Tywin, is you need to go in the mindset that you are going to have to use a lot of Mologoras to really see the comparison of how he is going to compete with a unit like Falcon or Kluri for a similar role on your teams. So don't go in this thinking that, like, a lot of people in Kluri only did like a +7, a +6, a +8. Very minimal Mologora investment was required. You know, mostly people got her combat readiness up on her skill 1, and then they got her cooldown and her effect chance at 100% on her skill 3. Tywin is going to take more investment to shine, but if you guys have the time and you guys have the patience and the resources, I feel he's totally worth it. So that's his S1. His S2 is going to be an increased attack and critical hit chance and 30% combat readiness for himself and one of their ally. Obviously, if you are manualing with him, you'll have complete control of who you want to target. If you are on auto, generally it will target the unit with the highest attack. So for instance, if you guys are using your Lunas or your Fire Kens, units like that have generally a high attack, or Sirmia is another great option as well, or even Lorena if you guys are still rocking the, as far as your DPS, your free-to-play Lorena. That is going to be very, very powerful, especially if you have built your units around low critical hit chance. He will help out in that regard, because it does increase by 30%, so I believe. Actually, no, it's more, I want to say. I want to say it's something like, I can't remember exactly, it's something like 50 or 60%, because I know the attack buff is very significant. I'm not sure exactly the increased crit hit chance, because it is, the 30% is for the combat readiness. So there's that. You know, very, very good. He's not a complete full team buff like you guys would see, you know, with like a DN or a Tamarine, but still, you know, generally a lot of us nowadays are running 2 supporters and then 2 DPS or 1 pseudo DPS. So he's still going to help out in regards of getting you that damage output on one of their unit. And plus getting that combat readiness is just absolutely insane for his kind of unit. And the fact that it goes down to a 3-turn cooldown, and you only need 2 red Mologoras and 2 regular Mologoras to get this cooldown done. I was actually about to get it done today, and I was like, oh crap, I used all my Nightmare Masks for his 6-star Awakening, so I actually have to wait I have to wait till tomorrow, because I have, I believe, the resources in the, I'll have 2 tokens from the shop in Hellraid, and I can buy Nightmare Masks in Hellraid, so by tomorrow, I will be able to get that, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's Commanding Shout is his S2. Very, very good utility skill. And then finally we move on to his S3, which did get buffed recently. And for the full effect of this, I would say get this to +4, so you get the cooldown. So it goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. I believe same. Oh no, Falcon or Kluri now that only goes down to 5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's a 5-turn cooldown after she got nerfed. So, but he is going to give an AoE defense break and 2 turns of increased defense for the or I'm sorry, the defense break of 2 turns to the enemies, and then an increased defense for himself for 3 turns. So that's why he's really, really good too. He provides that defense break just like Falcon or Kluri. He's going to make himself tank a little bit more just like that increased defense. Kind of similar trade-off where Kluri's passive gave you healing and herself a barrier. So a little bit more survivability that Kluri has, and then Tywin has the same thing. So when we compare these units side by side, they both have strips. Obviously, Kluri's strip is better. But Tywin's is on an S1, so you can proc it more often. So sometimes that could be more useful if you're dealing with, like, say, a boss that's getting, like, 1 buff every so often on turns. And Kluri may not be able to come full around to have her S3 up each time, where Tywin could keep continuously activating his S1. So that could be more beneficial, but more likely than not, Kluri's strip is going to be better. But the fact that Tywin then on his S2, when we kick it around, as opposed to a passive on just a little bit of healing from Kluri for a little bit of utility, Tywin's going to give you massive utility with increased combat readiness, increased crit hit chance, and increased attack for your other DPS unit. Is an insanely good ability, especially on turn 3 cooldown. And then also he has an AoE defense break, as well as increased defense for himself, so that helps with survivability. He can run, you know, artifacts like the Sword of Urza is really, really insane for him for taking on Hell Raids, for taking on Abyss Towers, and for taking on especially Wyvern Hunts. Basically, it's just going to make him almost unkillable. So it's insanely good. He also provides that defense break as well, so that's going to be helpful as well against the Wyvern. So like when you apply like Luna's defense break, and then it comes around to where Luna's able to attack again, and the defense break is not active, you have Tywin there as well to keep applying that defense break, and as well he's going to get that defense increase to tank the Wyvern even more. So he's just an insanely good unit for Wyvern in general. So if you guys are looking to farm Wyvern, I would say he's like a must-have. I would say Kluri, for as far as for farming, she's semi-useful, I would say, for A11, and then I would say she's pretty useful for Golem. Me, for instance, I don't use her for Golem, and I haven't really been focusing on A11 recently, so I haven't really been using her at all, and that's why I chose to recall her personally. So that's like the utility-wise, and I'll just show you guys kind of a little like where my Tywin is currently built, so you guys can get kind of an idea of what to look out for, and there's a lot of different builds you guys can do with him. So if we look at his stats here, he's sitting at about 200 speed. He has about almost 1350 attack, almost 1,000 defense, and 16k health. Credit chance of 30%, credit damage of 182, effectiveness of 60%, and effect resistance of 71. So my only other thing that I'm looking to really do pretty soon is get a better chest piece. I want to get more where this is more concentrated on more health, and I don't really want crit hit damage on it, so I'm trying to get away from that stuff there. This is pretty good because it rolled 19% health, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to keep this because the likelihood of me rolling another helmet with more health is probably pretty low. If I once, you know, down the road get a helmet with more health than this that has other good substats like with speed and defense, maybe if it had like speed, defense, health, and then like effect resistance, something like that, or effectiveness, then I would potentially swap it out. But it would really have to have more health for me to want to do that. The sword is pretty darn good as well with that effectiveness. It has 12% health, effect resistance, speed, has all the 4 stats I want basically. The only other thing I could potentially swap out would maybe be effect resistance for defense, but my defense is at 1,000, which is fine. I'm definitely fine with that. And then his boots are good, speed of 40, obviously an 85. It has effectiveness and defense, so the boots I could potentially see changing out. These actually could be some pretty darn good boots for Fire-Ken, because it does have effectiveness, which Ken needs, and then it has crit chance, crit damage, so when Ken does crit on that, that would be very, very good. So like to take out these boots for some boots potentially on Fire-Ken down the road, where I could more focus on obviously the speed main stat, the defense, and the fact that these boots don't have health, that really does hamper Tywin's health rate a little bit. So I would potentially swap these out down the road, but they're good for right now for what I have. This turned out pretty well. You know, as far as I got effect resistance main stat, and you guys know how hard it is to get accessories, so it's like, hey, effect resistance is good for Tywin because he's going to be the frontline tank. So the fact that he's going to have super high effect resistance at 70% is pretty darn good. It rolled 8 speed, which is really nice. I had rolled a little bit of health. It rolled the health on the last stat, so obviously I only had 1 roll to get increased health, and I think it went into attack or crit hit damage on the last roll, unfortunately, which I don't really want a lot of attack and crit hit damage. So obviously down the road, I could potentially swap this out for something else. We'll have to see if I ever get something better as far as for a health ring for him. And then this is the speed necklace that we got, and just of how bad these rolls were for me, I really wanted this to be my Shadow Rose necklace, but it did not roll much speed at all. I think it had 1 roll of speed, mostly crit hit chance, and it was just like something I could put on him on a speed set that I potentially could use, so that's why I went with it. And obviously I switched back and forth between using Arius for PvP and GvP, and then when I'm doing like specifically just farming Wyvern, or if I'm just farming raids, then I'll give him the Sword of Erza. So that is giving my overall review of Tywin. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys think he is on par to take on Kluri's alternate spot and in your teams for whether it's PvP, GvP, or for PvE content? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear you guys, what you guys think of him. I'm super pumped for him, and I'm going to keep him on one of my main rosters for PvE at least, and even for Guild Wars a lot of the time I will throw him in there as well. So I love him. I hope you guys will give him a shot if you guys do happen to have him. But let me know what your guys' insight is in the comment section down below. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button down below so you guys can be updated for more future Epic7 content. And like the video if you guys did enjoy today's content as well. And until then, guys, your boy Fort Misery Gaming. Hope you guys all enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.